Capital Partners. So, Cyndee, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, to start ourselves off, I'd love to learn more about your story, your background, and how you got into commercial real estate.
So my background is I was an accountant for 25 years. I had my own business, and I specialized in small businesses. I live in the Phoenix area, so I would work with people that had their own business. Sometimes they would have employees. Sometimes it would just be maybe a husband and wife. So what I would do is I would meet with them every month, go over their financials with them, try to help them understand, where the money's coming from, where they're spending their money, how to increase the bottom line. Most of them didn't care. I mean, they cared about the bottom line, but it's accounting to them. It wasn't their bag, which is why I did it for them. So I just made sure they were in compliance. I did their sales tax, their payroll, or taxes, all of that. And so I did that business for 25 years, and then I decided to do a little pivot, and I started teaching women how to be efficient with a firearm.
Oh, nice.
And I created a purse line because at that time there were no Q purses. I love Q purses. There were no Q purses to carry a gun. Yeah. And so I designed a purse line.
Amazing.
And, yeah. I don't sew, but I had them made in the United States. So they're all leather. They're beautiful bags.
Okay.
So I did that for about 5 years. I'm sorry?
Do you still make those?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No, I did that for about 5 years. And then my husband and I went and heard someone speak about multifamily, and we're like, this could really work. So we were very interested in it, and we have some friends that we have been friends with for about 30 years. And we're like, hey, can you come into this 3-day seminar and tell us what you think? We value your opinion. And so they did the seminar with us. Their name are Laird and Sherry Hatch. And they're like, yes, we can do this. And we sat down, and we realized that between the four of us, we had a really good skill set because my background was in accounting. My husband is in construction. Laird is in marketing, and Sherry had retired as an escrow officer.
Okay.
So between the four of us, we could kind of figure out how to do this. So we started talking about what we would call our company. And we had a little joke between us because our son married their daughter. Oh. And they grew up together, so it was kind of a surprise to all of us. They never dated in high school. They never dated, but in their 20s, one day I noticed they were holding hands, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think something's afoot." And so, and then I was talking with Laird and Sherry, and I was like, I think the kids might be dating. And Laird was like, "Oh, they are." And I'm like, they are? And he goes, yeah. I walked into the living room, and they were laying on the couch spooning, watching a movie. So I'm like, yeah, I guess they are. So they got married, and they've been married for about 10 years.
Nice.
And so when we're trying to figure out what to call our company, the kids, refer to each other as in-laws. Okay. And so when we get together, we call the adults the Outlaws. So that's how we came up with Outlaws Capital.
Nice.
So it works for us because we're from Arizona, and people kind of think of the Wild West. And then I'm a firearms instructor. I'm still a certified firearms instructor. So
nice.
I have that, and then we have the kids. So that's how we came up with our name.
I love it.
And then it put me back into accounting, which was really my normal space. I felt very comfortable doing that. And really the transition from, having my own accounting practice and doing multifamily is each apartment complex is its own small business.
Yeah.
So it has its own financials, its own assets, its own liabilities. And so it was just a real natural transition for me to be able to do that. And So I actually am part of Outlaws Capital, but I also started my own, kind of branched off a little bit and started High Caliber Asset Management.
Mm-hmm.
And so high caliber can go either way. It can be a meaning of excellence, but it
Yeah.
also can mean maybe the caliber of a cartridge. Because there's all different calibers.
Yeah,
My
I
personal
like it.
favorite's a 9 millimeter, but anyway,
Nice, nice.
so I have high caliber asset management. So I've really just
Mm-hmm.
dug in and have really focused on doing asset management. So I've reached out to other
Mm-hmm.
syndicators and have taken on some of their properties, and helping them, run it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when you think about multifamily, a lot of people know about kind of the front end. You
Yeah.
raise your money, you have your investors,
Mm-hmm.
you close the deal, everyone celebrates, and then they're on to find the next deal. And
Right.
I feel like I'm left behind, and I'm okay with that. For the next 5, 7, 10 years, however long that hold
Right.
is.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility to watch over that. And I take that
Mm-hmm.
very seriously, because my job is to make sure that the property runs in a manner that is profitable, and that the
Mm-hmm.
investors, that their money is preserved and that they're able to get their returns. So
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time looking at spreadsheets and screens. And I also meet with a property management company, usually once a week when we first start out, but then we'll go to
Mm-hmm.
twice a month, and just make sure everything's going smooth. So that's been a really fun part of it, doing the
Yeah.
asset management. So I love
That
it.
is fun.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
when you meet with the property managers, is that online? Is that like on site?
Yes and yes. So I do a Zoom every week or every other week,
Mm-hmm.
and then twice a year I'll go to the property. Sometimes announced, sometimes unannounced.
Yeah.
Depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, twice a year I do physically go and walk the property, meet with
Mm-hmm.
the on-sites, meet with the regionals. So yeah.
Great. So it looks like your past experience really helped you prepare you for this role in asset management. So can you kind of explain to us what is asset management? What does it all entail?
Yeah, I will, because I feel like it's so underrated, undervalued.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how people look at it, but basically, you're responsible for the financial stability and the profitability of the complex. So, you look at ways that you can increase the income, whether it's, providing rubs or covered parking or pet rent, or you just, look at that. And then you also look at how to decrease your expenses. And so, we look at, our water usage. Some cities offer like low flow toilets, they'll supply you with those. And so we try and take advantage of any of the incentives that are out there that will help, reduce the cost. Also, watching payroll. I had one property where I could see the number of work orders getting done and the work that was getting done, but I could also see the time
Mm-hmm.
that the maintenance man was putting in. And so I asked, hey, can I just see his timesheets? I just want to, take a look at them. And it was really interesting, because about 2 weeks after all that happened, he put in his notice.
Oh.
And yeah, and I felt bad that he left on one
Yeah.
hand, because I don't want anyone to lose their job. And I certainly
Yeah.
didn't fire him. I just asked to see his timesheets, but he wasn't working. He wasn't performing and
Mm.
doing what we had hired him to do. And so that's my
Yeah.
responsibility, is to watch over that and to make sure that that is what happens. So sometimes it's the hard conversation.
Yeah.
But the numbers don't lie. And so every month, I go over the financials. I keep a unit status update.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I get the Home Depot bill and it says a refrigerator for unit 3, I go to unit 3 and put in, it has a new refrigerator, and, keep track of where we are with our budget. So
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a bit that's involved in it. And I think sometimes, especially passive investors, have no
Mm-hmm.
idea. They
Yeah.
just know they're investing their money and they're getting their return. But yeah, it is a lot of just watching and being
Hmm.
aware. So, but I like it.
Yeah,
I'm happy doing it, so it works out well.
that's good. I mean, I think you have to enjoy the work that you're doing if you're gonna do it for a long time, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, you're with the property the whole time,
yeah.
until it sells. So, and
Do you?
things, they fall on your shoulders to take care of. One of the
Mhm.
things is so important is the property management company that you use.
Yeah.
So I have this huge questionnaire. They never see it because I don't want to hand it to them. But if they saw it, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" But just lots of
Ah.
questions and
Yeah.
asking, about their experience and how they
Hmm.
handle certain things and what kind of information can I get.
Yeah.
Um, and so, we have a good process that we go through to
Hmm.
get the right property management company. And then, then having a good on-site and a good regional is
Hmm.
essential because,
Okay.
they're really your eyes and ears. And they want to help you have the property run too, because if it's not
Yeah.
running well, they're not getting paid well either. So but
Yeah, I feel
it's
like
good to have that relationship.
absolutely. I feel like there's not enough tools and resources and just learning about asset management side of the
Yes,
business.
I agree.
Are there any like software or tools to help you out with that, or do you kind of do it on your
There
own?
there are some different ones that are available, but
Hmm.
you have to be pretty large to warrant that because
Yeah.
there is a fee with it. I do feel like we don't get enough education
Hmm.
in general in multifamily on asset
Hmm.
management.
Yeah.
I feel very lucky that my background is in accounting because it
Hmm.
does make sense to me. I have worked with some people where I've been, called in to take over asset management, and the
Hmm.
people that I'm working with, they don't have any background in it, so they don't really have a starting point. So I
Yeah.
do feel like there could and should be more education on asset management, just in even a full cycle.
Yeah.
At the end of the year,
Yeah.
K1s, people are like, I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think there should be a lot more
Hmm.
education made. And I try to sound the trumpet all the time. Asset management, let's talk about it because people just don't know. And it's
Right.
hard, it's hard to explain it in 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
I often work with people that are wanting to learn. So if there's someone like on
Okay.
the GP that,
Yeah.
they really want, that's something they want to be able to learn, I'll work with them and
Hmm.
have them help me, like with unit status and some of the
Hmm.
things. And then I'll have them work with me like on the financials. I still am responsible for it, but I also want them to learn. So,
Hmm.
because, they're not always going to be on that GP with that asset. They might go to another one. And so I'm
Yeah.
really big about training whoever I'm working with if they want to learn,
Yeah.
how to do it and to be really efficient. I've created my own spreadsheets and
Hmm.
my own systems
Yeah.
that I use. So one of the things that I tell anyone that is doing asset management is always have an agenda.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's amazing. There are a lot of meetings, they don't have an agenda, and so they
Mm.
just kind of talk about what's going on, but then you meet again and none of that's ever taken
Mm.
care of.
Yeah.
So I always send an agenda beforehand so they can look at it.
Hmm.
They know what I'm going to ask them. Sometimes they go ahead
Smart.
and I had one manager, I'd send out the agenda. She would email me the answers before the meeting. We still had the meeting, but it was like, this is like, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but we're still
Good.
meeting. There's other people, there's GPs, that are on the meeting.
Yeah.
But I just think
I
that
like it.
helps you really stay focused. And
Hmm.
then those things don't fall in between the cracks. Something that you've talked about. We had one that the sidewalk was busted and we actually had a violation from the city.
Oh, wow.
And so I ask, every week for like 2 weeks in a row. And they're like, it's been raining. And I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
And I kept it on the agenda. And then third time, guess what? It's been fixed.
Good.
I'm like, good.
Good. Well, hopefully you and I can GP together so I can learn some asset management as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I'd
I
love
love
to learn
it.
that.
It's kind of weird. People are like, you get excited about numbers, but I do. So,
Yeah. Me
yeah.
too. I'm a numbers person. I like,
Yeah.
especially if it's money, dollar signs.
Yeah. Dollar
So,
signs help. Yes, they help a lot.
so tell us
Do you want
about,
me to talk to you a little bit about Outlaws and our success we had in tertiary market? I know that was one of
yeah,
the things that we had
what,
talked about.
yeah, tell us about your portfolio. Where are you at? How many units? That kind of thing.
So right now we have 80 units in Vicksburg, Mississippi,
Hmm.
and we are in the process of expanding that footprint. It's a
Nice.
506B, so I really can't say a whole lot about it. So,
Okay.
but we are expanding our footprint in Mississippi, which is really
Great.
good. But this particular Vicksburg,
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I didn't know where it was. And I grew up in the
Yeah.
South. I didn't know where Vicksburg was. It
Yeah.
was brought to us by a broker, and we're like, okay, so I looked it up, and it's
Hmm.
actually on the Mississippi River. It's very hilly.
Hmm.
We're about 3 miles out from the Mississippi, and there's tons of hills. So we don't even have flood insurance. I mean, there's no chance of it like rising and getting to the complex. But
Hmm.
um, it was really a challenge because it's a tertiary market. There's
Yeah.
like 48,000 people in the county.
Hmm.
But what we did, and I talk about this often when I'm talking with students, is
Hmm.
we went to the Chamber of Commerce. And that is like my secret weapon. If you're ever going to go into a smaller market, secondary or tertiary, go to the Chamber of Commerce. So we went and
Hmm.
talked to the Chamber of Commerce, and they were telling us all the things that were happening in Vicksburg. And it's interesting. It's about 30 minutes from Jackson, and Jackson is the capital of Mississippi. Honestly,
Hmm.
didn't remember that either. I'm sure I knew it in third grade, but I remember it now. But it's about 30 minutes from the capital. Um, they have 70,000, not seven, so they have 7,000 people that commute every day from areas into Jacksonville, I'm sorry, from Jackson to Vicksburg because there's not very much housing available.
Okay.
And they don't have plans to build more apartments. So what's there is there. So that was a good thing for us because we knew
Hmm.
that even though the county was small, that people were coming into the county to work, the
Yeah.
employment was good, and that housing was a premium. The
Hmm.
complex that we bought stays 100%. It's always pre-leased. And we've been able to really push the rents while we've been there, but we've done things to the property. We put
Hmm.
in a barbecue and a pergola. We put in vending machines. So we've done things to make it easier for the residents.
Hmm.
We actually, their satellite, they had cable and Wi-Fi with a satellite dish.
Oh, wow.
And so you can imagine it was super slow and not reliable. So we
Yeah.
have worked really hard with the cable company. And right now they're installing fiber optic into the
Great.
complex. But it was the chamber that helped us because they
Hmm.
helped us see what was going on in the area.
Hmm.
And then what we did is after we closed, we waited probably about 6 weeks because we wanted to have a good transition with the property management. We invited all of our investors to come on a tour. And so we chartered a bus and we called the guy from the chamber and we're like, how'd you like to be our tour guide? This charter bus full of investors that have just bought this complex. And he was super happy he did it. And so
Nice.
we met at a hotel and we took him to the complex. I got to see it. We had a little
Hmm.
reception for them, like breakfast. And then we took them around Vicksburg and showed them. It's a port that's the
Hmm.
15th largest port in the United States. So they could see the port. Then we went, they're very big on education in Vicksburg. In fact, last year, the average, I'm trying to think how to word it, the number of high school students that graduated in Warren County was higher than the national average.
Oh, wow.
So they have a very big push on education. And they
Mm-hmm.
had a new school that was a STEM school,
Mm-hmm.
had not even been opened. Like, we were allowed to go in, but we couldn't take pictures because the public had not seen it yet. But the administrator, the superintendent for the schools, met us down
Yeah.
there and gave us a tour. So our investors were able to see that this was a great place to invest their money. That
Mm-hmm.
it, was a place that was growing. They're really moving to technology. That's their main industry now. It is
Mm-hmm.
transportation, with as far as, it's got the Mississippi and it's got a railway through it, but it has a lot of technology that's moved in, and then manufacturing. So we were
Okay.
able just to show it to them and say, hey, this is a great market. And so we were able to talk with them before we purchased it,
Mm-hmm.
and then, use the chamber to help us once we had our investors there and took them around. So I tell everyone, the chamber can be your secret weapon. Just
Yeah.
contact them because they know what's going on, especially the director of economic development.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their job is, to develop the economy. And
Yeah.
so they're always seeking, new businesses and trying to, bring in more people. So it's been very good. And that's how we
Great.
became successful in that. And we've looked at other tertiary
Uh-huh.
markets the same way. Get a hold of the chamber and just see what's
Yeah.
going on.
So for those investors who are new and maybe don't know the definitions, can you explain the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary market?
Yes, I can. I don't know what the real definition is. A primary is like Dallas, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
places that are emerging markets where there are a lot of growth, a lot of jobs, the top 10 cities to live in the United States. Those are the emerging markets. So that's your
Yeah.
primary. Secondary are cities that are support to that, so it's, those that are around, Dallas or around Chicago or, other
Mm-hmm.
places. I think Boise, Idaho now is on the emerging market. So the secondary are those that are a little bit further out. Tertiary, even further. And I
Even
think it
further.
also has to do with the population, but I don't know the definition.
Okay. So, have you had challenges going into tertiary markets? I know some investors won't
Mm-hmm.
even go near those types of investments, but it seems to be something that I guess you guys maybe specialize in. Can you tell us what kind of challenges you experience with that?
Yeah, well, the biggest challenge is talking with the investors and having them have confidence that the town that we're in is going to continue to grow, that we're going to be able to keep the units rented. So that,
Okay.
that is
Mm-hmm.
the challenge, because we have looked at several, since we took over that one. But it doesn't convince us. Like when we talk with the chamber and we see, if you see a declining population or that the median income is declining,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't want to go into those because you're not going to be able to keep
Right.
the complexes full. So that's how we decide what tertiary market to go into. And we
Mm-hmm.
actually haven't found another one yet. I mean, Vicksburg
Okay. Yeah.
that's the one we've been very successful with. But it is challenging because we want them to have confidence. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I can brag for a minute. We have a
Yeah.
7% preferred return on
Mm-hmm.
our property there. And I do the asset management, so I do the distributions. And we
Mm-hmm.
met our pref in the second distribution this
Nice.
year.
Yeah.
So it's working.
That's great.
We're working with the property, and we want to be part of the town. It's a
Mm-hmm.
smaller town, so like we support the high school. You can join. I don't know if it's the boosters or what they. I don't know exactly what they call it, but we did that through our apartment complex. So we have a
Mm-hmm.
banner on the fields, and because we want to be part of that community. We want them to know that we are invested, not just in the
Mm-hmm.
property, but in the community itself.
Yeah. And I think that's more important, especially in those smaller markets, because it gets noticed, right? It's
Yes.
a small town
Yep.
and everyone can can see what's happening, right? So I'm sure
Yes.
they all appreciate what you guys are doing out there.
Yeah. Yes. The town and our investors, because, we tell them what we're doing and they're
Yeah,
very happy, with what they see that we're doing for the residents and for the town.
perfect. What's the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome since you started your real estate journey?
Hmm. Finding deals. We're very, very picky. So that's been a
Mm-hmm.
big challenge. We have a couple brokers that we have good relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a lot of underwriting, but just finding that perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
I know people say there's no perfect deal, but that's what we're looking for, is that perfect deal for our investors, because we want to protect that for them in their investment, and we want them to have confidence in us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably been the biggest, is finding the deal, and then being in the deal is just making sure all the puzzle pieces come together. I remember we were being interviewed by Dave Lindahl, and I
Mm-hmm.
told him it was like a jigsaw puzzle that floated in the air, and all the pieces are there, and the day of
Yeah.
close, everything drops, and you just pray that everything is where it's supposed to be.
That's
Because
awesome.
that's pretty much how it is, because everyone
Yeah.
has their own pieces, and everyone's helping and doing, and you just pray that
Mm-hmm.
when you close and everything drops, it's where it's supposed to be.
I love it. Awesome. So, what's the biggest piece of advice you'd give someone who is just starting out and getting into multifamily today?
Oh, well, the one piece of advice I give, if I just had to give one, is do something every day to build in the multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, because consistency really is the key. Don't do it every other day or when you get around to it. But especially if you have a W-2, you do have commitments to other people, but do
Mm-hmm.
one thing every day in multifamily. And you'll find that as
Mm-hmm.
you do that, more doors will open. You'll be more consistent. You'll show up. You'll be able to have those connections, because it really, really is all about connecting. You
Yeah.
can't do it alone. I guess you
Mm-hmm.
could, but who would want to? It's super hard. So
Yeah.
you connect with people, and it's those connections. The book Who Not How by
Yeah.
Dan Sullivan. That's
Mm-hmm.
a true book. I mean, it's who you know, and you want to really surround yourself and be apart with people that are doing multifamily. And
Yeah.
if you are doing a W-2, it's hard, and I totally understand that. But if you will just do one thing every day, and
Mm-hmm.
often, I mean, even with myself, I do this full time, but sometimes there's days I'm like, not today. But I make myself come in my office. I have a beautiful office,
Yeah.
and I do one thing, and before I know it, it's 4 hours have gone by, and
Yeah.
I've been
That's
working.
true. Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
about
just
just getting yourself to the desk, and once you're there, the hours kind of fly
yes,
by.
yes. It's the same principle with the gym. I just haven't applied that yet.
That's true. The hard part is getting to the gym, and then
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you just go, you might as well walk through the doors, and you might as well work out. So.
exactly. Yeah. So, where can people get in touch with you, and what's the best way for them to keep contact?
So I have a calendar. If people contact me on Facebook, I try to do a vlog once a week.
Mm-hmm.
So they can look through my personal Facebook page. The vlog is there, and I put my calendar up there. So if
Mm-hmm.
they'll just log a time, then I'm happy to chat and see how I can help them or connect them with someone that is maybe in their area. Cyndee Harding at gmail.com is probably the most used. I mean, I have a high caliber one, I have an Outlaws one, but just Cyndee Harding at gmail.com.
Great.
Just give me a call. I answer my phone, or send me a text.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
All right. And I just want to thank you as well, because you were, I think, one of the very first people to actually reach out and call us. We tried to visit, Phoenix because we were considering it as a potential market. And when we were there, you were one of the first people to call and kind of give us our first advice when we got started in the multifamily space. And, now here we are talking again. So I
Yeah.
definitely know that you're open to helping people that
Well,
are
yeah.
just getting started in this business. So we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing to speak together and hopefully work on some deals together in the future.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I love talking about asset management. So
I love it. And I'll make sure to have the link to your calendar and your Facebook in the show notes so people can get in touch with you easily. But again, thank you for being on the show. And
yes, my
we'll
pleasure.
chat
Thank you
soon.
for asking me.
Of
I
course.
appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
yes, contact me. I'm happy to talk to people.